Hello, I'm Donna Montgomery. I am the Clinical Informatics Officer for Lone Star Communications, and I want to talk today about collaboration. And when you hear that, you might think to yourself, well, why do we need to talk about collaboration? Well, really, collaboration is so important because we know that each of us individually have really good ideas about things, but when we work as a team and we truly collaborate, many good ideas create great outcomes. So the old saying about many heads are better than one is really what we're talking about today. So how do we become good collaborators and make sure that we're doing our part on our team? All of our work is connected, and some of you may remember the old story about the butterfly effect. So that actually comes from chaos theory, which I won't go into today, but what it really tells us is that when a butterfly's wings flap in New Mexico, that can actually be felt across the world and measured across the world. And it's an example of how everything we do affects everything else. That's true in our personal life, but it's also true in our work life. So I really want to talk today about how all of us can become better collaborators. And this is an evolving process. None of us are perfect at this, and every day, because of the way we show up, feel at work, all the things that are happening in our lives, sometimes we're better at it than others. So let's talk about what some of the characteristics are of being a good collaborator. So first I want to start by saying that collaboration is really different than communication. And the reason it's different is we communicate all day. It doesn't mean that we're doing it in a collaborative manner. So how is communication different than collaboration? One way is that communication is one of the crucial factors that are required to be a good collaborator. And team members need to be able to freely talk to each other and bring their good ideas to the table about how to solve a problem. But we need to make sure that not only that we're communicating clearly, but also that we're good listeners. So we have to be able to listen to what other people around the table or on our team are saying. And many times that's hard to do because we think we have the best answer in the room about how to solve something. So being a good listener as well as a clear communicator are very important to communications and making sure that that's one of the characteristics of having a good collaboration. So another characteristic is authenticity. So really what authenticity is that we all come from different walks of life. We all bring different perspectives to the table. And really those different perspectives and our different skill sets based on our work experiences, based on our education and other things really brings different perspectives. And we need to make sure that as team members, we remain authentic. We don't want to just go along with what's being said. And sometimes we can even get into what's called a group think problem where everybody's saying the same thing and we're not really bringing all the different perspectives. So being authentic, bringing your true self to the table and presenting yourself as your true self is another characteristic of being a good collaborator. So the third one is that we have to be able to compromise. So compromise is a tough one. If you start thinking about, you think you have a really good idea, you know how to solve this problem, but maybe you're not getting feedback that is a good idea or that's really the way we should be doing something. So being able to compromise. One of the things that I know I've learned and I try to practice every day is I don't have to fight every battle that I think needs to be fought today. So sometimes we need to say something and then we walk away and we wait for another opportunity to maybe bring that up again. So it's an example of compromise. I have to be willing to compromise on what the best answer for the team is, even though I might not be 100% in support of exactly the way that we're going to solve a problem. So this is just a point that sometimes our stubbornness, which we all have a streak of that in us because we're individual people, our stubbornness can actually hinder the team accomplishing great things. So the fourth characteristic that I want to talk about and highlight is tolerance. So everyone on your team has to have the ability to be tolerant and accepting of others. So some of these things I hope you're seeing are starting to kind of interconnect in how these characteristics have to be present for the team to really be collaborative. We're all very different from each other. We come from different backgrounds, and although this is a benefit because it brings that authentic self that we just talked about, it can also become an issue if we are not tolerant of other team members. Fifth characteristic is really being a team player. You've heard me say that a lot in what we've been talking about to be a good collaborator, but really every person involved in a collaboration needs to be a team player and focused on reaching what is that common goal that we're trying to accomplish. So making sure that the team is clear to start with what is the goal that we're trying to accomplish here, that will make us all be able to be focused around accomplishing that goal and really coming up with a great solution for our customer. Every person on the team must be a team player, because if you're just sitting there and you're not being collaborative and you're not participating, then that does a couple of things. It disappoints your team, your authentic self is not seen, and we don't get a different perspective. So it's really so critical for us to commit to being a team player and really bringing our best game forward with all these characteristics that we're talking about today. And last but not least is reliability. So being a reliable member is critical because collaboration requires trust among the team, and trust comes from being reliable and consistent. And so if we don't have trust and faith in our team members, then our team cannot be as collaborative as possible. We need to do what we say we will do, and we need to tell our team when we've done those things. So I think we've got some great venues within Lone Star to do that, starting with our daily huddles and our weekly meetings where we can update each other, not only about what we've accomplished, that we've done what we told the team we were going to do, but also what are we going to be doing next week and how can we work together to get everything accomplished. So when I was thinking about these characteristics that most references would tell you, not just me, what I wanted to do is really find a story of a time when really good collaboration was done at Lone Star. And so I was able to find one of my colleagues, Tessa, who works as one of the clinical application specialists. I'm going to ask her now to share an actual story. And as she's telling her story, I want you to think about the characteristics of communication, authenticity, compromise, tolerance, being a team player, and being reliable as she tells her story, and see if you can see why, because the team did certain things, they had a great outcome. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tessa and hope you enjoy her story. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Tessa, as Donna introduced, and I'm actually a clinical application specialist here at Lone Star Communications. And I want to talk to you guys about my collaboration story that I had here at Lone Star. So kind of to begin, how this came up is we were testing at a local hospital site here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And during that time, we were doing the testing. I was noticing that the workflow that I initially created wasn't really working in the environment that I thought it would. So during that process, I was like, there's got to be a way where this will work differently in this environment. So after kind of reaching out to some other local distributors and engaging with Paul, he's one of our programmers here, we actually did some kind of stress testing and troubleshooting on this feature that was an enhancement on the system. So during that testing process, we noticed like this might actually work. So to really confirm it, we wanted to come back here to the local office to actually test it in our test lab that we have here in the back. So I reached out to Eric and Roger, who's also a programmer here at Lone Star, and said, hey guys, like I think I've found something. I really want to work with you guys to see if this can work and we can make the customer's experience that much better by actually implementing this change. So at first they were kind of like, okay, Tessa, I don't know if that's going to work. They gave me a little pushback. They're like, we got to call Ron. We got to make sure that this is capable. And after a little bit of convincing and, you know, us going back and forth, we all decided, let's just go in the back and hash it out, right? We got to go to the lab setting. We're going to figure this thing out. So after like 3 hours of trying different scenarios, talking back and forth, saying, no, this idea is better. Just listen to it on this idea. No, my idea is better. It was chaotic, but it's our way of getting some things done sometimes. So during that process, we actually found that the solution that we had, this enhancement, actually did work and was going to make the customer experience that much better. So after all that time, it was totally worth it. The customer was happy. We were happy. We found a new way to actually program our sites going forward by implementing this new Responder 5 feature. And honestly, like we wouldn't have been able to do it if it wasn't our collaboration that we had with the programmers and the CAS within our CEG group, it was a customer experience group that we have here at Lone Star. I mean, that trust and reliability that we have for each other, literally, we stayed after hours testing. We would do anything just to make sure it happened, and we both all believe in each other, and we all went through the process and stuck with it just for the customer's sake and for ours. I mean, we want the best experience for our customers. So that's kind of my collaboration story, and I just want to do another shout out to our wonderful programmers, Paul, Roger, and Eric. Without them, this wouldn't have been possible. So see you later.